EV system. This will be my presentation layout. Now, nowadays, I am close to Delhi. So few days ago, we were crying that air quality of Delhi is very poor. And one of the reason, of course, everything contributes, Deepavali, thereafter the burning of this tables, everything contributes. I don't ignore that, but percentage wise, the major pollutant are definitely the road pollutions. And you can see that, this is the data of 2010, and there you can see that road transport that itself causing a 72% pollution, air pollutions. So huge chunk of the greenhouse gases is emitted by the road transport. And one of the problem of road transport is that it travels less amount of the passenger, and we have in India especially, buying a car has been considered as one of the consideration to be the elite person or something like that. For this reason, everyone, their aspirational level, they want to have a car. And for this reasons, we are going rapidly towards the system. And due to this pandemic, now we have realized that we require to have a personalized lifestyle, and that also elevated the requirement of a personal family car or this instead of the buses and the other. But issue is that we should also motivate to people to use that public transport system, economic public transport system, and there we can cut down a great amount of the greenhouse gases. Now, this is also one data that especially for the Indian context, our energy security is really depending on the price of the oil. And you can see that how how this has picked up. But in recent studies has shown, because of the government policy after 2014, that diesel price and the petrol price is almost came same. There is not much difference, and thus due to the consumptions of the diesel car, purchase of the diesel car for the personal segment has reduced. But anyway, but gasoline has increased, but still you can see that there is a huge chunk of the consumption increased in 2020 to 2015, and similar trend is continued. And thereafter you can see that these are, and also the electricity, it does not have picked up. But this scenario has drastically changed after 2015. So we have a huge chunk of the electric vehicle that comes into the picture. Now, let us now define the periphery of the electric vehicle. So it is not new one. We have seen the trains, trams, especially those who are from Calcutta or these places. So locomotive that operates an electric motor instead of the IC engine or the internal combustion engine, we'll say that it is an electric vehicles. An increasing demand of the fossil fuel problem is a major issue of the IC engine, and we are trying to reduce the use of the IC engine. But problem is that, please understand that in India, most of this power plant are the coal fired. around 72% power, peak power comes from the coal-fired station, and 60 to 72% varies in a because hydel keeps changing because of the in rainy season hydel is little more. So, but what happened, and it has been seen by calculations, coal emits more carbon footprint than the gasoline or the diesels. So, if we shift electric vehicle charging from the grid, that do by the coal-fired thermal power unit, we won't reduce the carbon footprint, rather we are going to increase the carbon footprint. The steps to be taken to use the renewable energy to use for the EV charging applications. So that's where the smart city, smart metering comes into the picture. And that is the fourth point. The EV system is an intelligent system which can readily integrate with the modern transport network. So that is also we require to plan it for the economic viability. And for this reasons, we have to have urban planning and the smart city are the integrated part of this electric vehicle program. So for this reason, we call it is electric vehicle technologies, not electric vehicle. So their urban infrastructure plays an important role. So EV road, we can have also the wireless charging roads. Those are the part of this infrastructures. And EV is a road vehicle based on the modern electric propulsion system consisting of the electric motor, power converter and the energy sources, and it has own distinct characteristics. So these are the area that we are going to focus. We are not talking about a grid connected electric vehicle. Now, little bit of history. When civilization has transferred from the muscle power to the machine power, so that was origin of the steam engine. That was you all know, in 1769. Then first internal combustion engine was hypothecated in 1806. Thereafter, that was a domain of the IC engine only, or the steam engine, that the first successful gas-driven engine was in 1860. Then first gasoline power engine car came into the picture in 1893. And but these are the area where also the electricity generated and the DC motor also is in use. So you can see that 1890 to 1924, till that time, EV was used as a modern transport system, but mostly battery storage technology was not dominated, but trams and all those cases. But after 24, once in the Gulf regions has came out with a huge reservoir, and that if you know a little bit of history, and in the Second World War, that is the fall of the Ottoman Empire at that time. So then this Europeans and American get an access to this Gulf oil reservoirs, and they start digging the oils, and thus they have a plenty of oils. And definitely in a personal car level in 1924 to 1960, so electric vehicles almost disappeared. Thereafter, we try to develop the electric vehicle again when this with the advancement of the power electronics, because you know that thyristors came in 1960, and then we are talking about the speed control of the inverter fed AC machine drive. And in 1960, for this reason, it reappears. And it also reappeared because of the political reasons. If you can recall, there was a Arab-Israel war in 1960, and then the oil price all of a sudden shoot to a very high level. Then they understood the vulnerability of the oil in that particular region, and then OPEC was not formed also. Till now, if you aware of this, I think you are better aware of me, so about the general affairs. So OPEC and the India, China, America all are fighting to the oil price issues. So OPEC was not formed that time, but Arab Union hold the protest of taking up Israel, and the oil prices shoot up. And then they realized that we require to move out from that tyranny of the control of oil. So for this reason, they started in 1970 the limited productions. But then battery technology was the lead acid battery. That is one of the biggest disadvantage at that time. And also the motor we had just thyristor little bit have matured. So thyristorized inverters also been used. Then, but for this reason, they prefer the DC motor drive, but DC motor drive has a lot of problem, as you know, the brushes and commutator. Now, in 1980 also, essentially Fiat came out with the EV design, and that was based on the DC motor. Then the first generation EV in 1990, and those who are basically the fashion statement for the Hollywood stars to show that they are greens, because you were charging same. Then renewables was in a nascent stage because there you are charging the battery still your grid power, so it is just merely a pretension. So thereafter, in 1920 onward, then power electronics become mature. 1990 or after, and when IGBT came into, IGBT was dominating in the market. Then it has got a huge thrust, and thereafter hybrid electric vehicle has been eclipsed because the battery technology has developed because of the laptop and other mobile gadgets and all. So battery technology keeps developing very fast. And thus, in 20 onward, you can see that electric vehicles and getting matured. And we are living on the 2020-21. Now we are going for the future aspect. Is around 40% and so that has to be reduced. That is the major challenge now in the electric vehicle segment. Now, definitely the strength is zero emission, quietness, smooth accelerations, because the machines are very smooth and quiet. And thereafter, reduce energy cost. And it is quite simple. Now, petrol car, around today's in a petrol cars, you know, having a 15 mileage in city, 15 kilometer per liter mileage in city, it is very difficult to get. So we are purchasing petrol in around 105 or 106 rupees. So depending on the place where you're staying. Now you can divide it. It comes to be the cost of the ownership is around 6 rupees to 7 rupees per kilometer. Whereas in the electric car, the cost of running, it is less than 2 rupees, 1.5 rupees to 2 rupees, depending on the electric tariff that you are paying for. So these are the practical challenges that we require to address. These are the social needs, because we have a garages every nook and corner. So that's what your insurance company advertises. Then the extension of the hour operations, now you don't have much petrol pump that can also use as a charging stations. And another aspect is that, everyone has his own patent, because Tesla, we don't have yet. Tesla car, I have seen in USA that charging sockets are totally different than the other charging sockets. Okay, so these are the issues. We require to have a universal design so that we can replace it very fast and all those issues. And major issues is definitely that sorry, extend the range of the electric vehicle, that is called autonomy. So we can fill up my tank 50 liter or 40 liter. So I can forget for the next 600 kilometer or 500 kilometer. So that's not possible in this case here. So that is the major challenge, and thus extension of the range is a major way forward we require to meet it. Now, this is the next generations or the present generation infrastructures, but that is based on the urban transportation system, that is public transport system. We can basically we can park. We can park to the parking station in a metro there, and we can take the metro and go somewhere, and thereafter we can go to the electric vehicles from somewhere. Then we can come back and take the again e-rickshaw or something, so that whole aspect can be electric vehicles. Now this is the urban transportation planning. This is a part of the smart city requirement. I am not elaborating. It is definitely the multidisciplinary aspects. So we require to see that their communications, historical data, transport system, personal transport, commercial facilities, logistic operations, all has to be given some kind of access. So public transports, we should prefer more, and that has to be facilitated, and thereafter we can have a personalized car. So can we reduce the personalized car in a peak hours? That's what the problems are. Then commercial vehicles, can we restrict it in that time? And in that way, we can have a data. So how this traffic has been generated, and based on that, how you can go for the e-mobility so that we can travel one place to another place, less carbon footprint. So there can be many optimizations. One optimization is that less carbon footprint. We have to transport 1,000 tons of the product one place to another place. How carbon footprint will be minimized? And one person will transport one place to another place. How also carbon footprint can be minimized? So whole idea is this. It can be product, it can be goods, it can be human being. Now for this reasons, this is for the human being interactions. So we should have the public transport networks connecting all the places. That is hospital, it should be closer to the railway stations connectivity that is coming from the out of the city. Then we can have a bus stop also. Then we can link to the some home or the residential complexes. Then we can have a school or colleges that district can be linked. Then there can be a like Walmart kind of concept or the metro cash and carry in Kolkata, so that you can go there and pick up your product and come back very soon. And then hospitals also. So this can be closely linked. That's what I'm saying. The human travel requirement should have less carbon footprint. And that is also the part of our electric technology development. It's not about the electric vehicle. It is all about that reduction of the carbon footprint. Now, of course, it has to link with the data. For this, is IoT is very important here. So IoT and the blockchains plays a very important role in that case to e-mobility, and thus communications is one of the tool that has been used. Very advanced communication tools are very much used for this kind of applications. Now let us come to the again little bit of history of the roadmap. So you can see that this is the data till 2019. So I have shown you that how the use of the e-vehicle has changed in different countries. And you know, BEV stands for the battery electric vehicle. It is PHEV stands for the fuel cell hybrid electric vehicles, and rest are the very common, you know, that is Europe, this data for the European Union, this data for the America, this data from the China. But India has not placed, and that comes into the others. So you can see that, you know, 2010, everyone almost slipping at this curve in 2019. You can see that the considerable part is that China electric vehicles, and of course, hybrid vehicles has a lot of challenges that require to meet it. And European Union also has been picked up, and rest of the world does not pick up. And hopefully, hopefully in coming 10 years, you will find that we shall also map India's contribution in this map. Now, let's talk about the electric vehicles, electrical energy perspective. We all are electrical engineers. So for the electric vehicle, goes for the road transport system, not grid connected EV. That is we have this block diagram, functional block diagram to keep in mind. And we will choose one of the point of working. It's just like you define an elephant by a blind person. You know, you got an electronic controller. Those who are familiar with the electronic controller, they will work on the electronic controller part. And ultimately, these are softwares. These are basically different kind of control technique to control the inverter for power converters. So these are FOC, that is the vector control. We can have the model reference, adaptive control. You can have a fuzzy logic control. You can have modern AI-based control also. Then, of course, you know, your interfacing device is essentially the hardware, or the hardware of this software you implement it, so that output will be the pulses to the output will be the pulses to this power converter, and thus you can have a microprocessors or the microcontroller, and that has been very popularly used. Thereafter, we can have our DSP processors, that is also used for the IGBT, and also transcomputers we also use, and also we use the VHDL or this. You can have also the VLSI designed specifically for this chip. Now, what are the devices we use? Of course, you know, we have not mentioned thyristors, because thyristors is not used because it is a semi-controlled devices. But apart from that, GTO is preferred for power rating above 60 kilowatt, especially the electric buses. You will find that electric buses, this power converters are made of GTO. IGBT has been phased out, so we don't use anymore. And extremely sorry, BJT has been phased out, used anymore. And IGBT mostly preferred for the electric vehicles. And nowadays, with the inventions of the high band gap devices, hopefully MOSFET will replace the IGBT, and IGBT will replace the GTO. And we can have a different kind of topology, that is the, if you are using the DC motor, then chopper, then inverter. Inverter can be square wave or the PWM, or sometime to make it a DC to DC converter, charging application, also battery charging application is a major part of the requirement. And there we use the DC to DC resonant converter to make this switching soft. And thereafter we have a electric motors control techniques. So that is for the thermal control and other issues. So it is a finite element methods. And then we require to see the graphics. Then we can have the CAD, that is computer aided design. Essentially, card design start from an artist. So artist will draw it first. So drawing they will paint it in a piece of paper. So from there, the concept of the car starts. And then what happened, then it will go to the avionics, this buoyancy and all those issues will come into the picture, how much carp you can give. That goes to the mechanical engineer. So mechanical engineer will assign the space. So then thereafter the thermal analysis, how much force will be generated, we require to sustain that impact test, etc., etc. So all those design will be there. So it is essentially a multidisciplinary subjects. So, and we can use a different type of motor. And we have a DC motor, though we have phased out the DC motor, but BLDC still we use for the e-Rickshaw. And also DC motor we also use, but for the cheaper e-Rickshaw. Thereafter, we have a SRM as a one of the candidates that we have discussed. So it is a permanent magnet synchronous machines. Then we have a different kind of induction machine also. Induction machine, not only 3-phase, we have a multi-phase induction machines also been used for this electric vehicles purpose. Now, while discussing the block diagram of the EV, we require to understand the requirement, what are the major features that we own. Okay, so definitely the high instant power and the high power density, because we require to accelerate 0 to 10. That's what our car is always been our proud possessions, and most of us, we do drive the car. So for this reason, the attachment becomes more. If it is a driving car, you don't enjoy it. The moment you start driving car, you feel the ownership of the car. And in that way, what happens, since your pride possession, so high instant power and the high power density are the one of the prime requirement or the sellability point of any car, because we want to see that how fast it is zooming, how fast it is actually picking up. If someone overtakes me and I feel sorrow. So that is our mental blockade anyway. So we require to design for the high power density and high instant power. Then high torque at low speed, that is one of the requirement. We require to have a very high torque at the low speed, and for this reason the induction motor disqualifies totally. And of course you can do it by, there's a mechanism, but starting torque of the induction machine is quite low. So for this reason we require to see that what are the machines are suitable that we can overcome the starting torque, because Coulombian frictional force required to be overcome, and climbing as well as at high speed, because we want that gearless operations. Those who are please recall your days, or you are learning driving, just learn driving, please recall that gear is something is very hazardous, very actually irritating element. So once you fail to fix up the gear while seeing at front. So these are something we we want that gear to be eliminated totally. And for this reason, we want that a very wide speed range, including the constant torque and constant power region. So we can have a city mode, cruise mode. These are the mode. These are the possible in the electric vehicles. And fast torque response. So we require to overcome some kind of bumps, etc., etc. For the torque required to be very high. And thereafter, we require to have a efficiency over the wide torque speed, so that if you require to go in inclination, then we require a high torque. If efficiency is low, then most of the cities now will have the flyover. So we have to travel in one flyover to another flyover. So for this reason, we require to have a high torque, and as well as the efficiency cannot be compromised. And then next, that is very important. So that is the part of our increasing the autonomy and reducing the price of driving. That is the regenerative braking. So huge amount of power is wasted while driving because of the braking in cities. So for this reason, you can find that city average and the highway averages are different by 20–30%. So for this reason, that amount of energy can be utilized for enhance its autonomy as well as reduce the price of the consumption of the electricity. So this is the one of the requirement, that we should have a high efficiency while braking also. So, and we shall feed back the power to the storage to gain the extra mileage. Now this is the one of the, please note that there is no gears. Okay. So these are brakes and accelerators, an electric motor. Then we have PWM inverter. I'm showing 3-phase, but we can have an induction machine of more than 3-phase also. So thereafter, fixed gear and the differential gear. Of course, you go for these are the model, in 80s when IGBT came into the pictures, around 85, 90s. These are the model we are using it. So then we got an energy management system, but I am little wrong here. Then battery technology was not nickel hydride. So anyway, so that battery technology thereafter it has been replaced, and the auxiliary power supply we require, and the cooler and heater, and then the power steering. So we can have a soft driving of the electric vehicle. So this is something that initial electric vehicles configurational propulsion system can be described. Now you see that this is the universal electrical platform. You've got a battery, then inverter, then you can have a motor or generator depending on whether motor is driving or it is in a regenerative braking. Then you have a transmission system, and you can have a external charging. So you can charge the battery, then it becomes the battery electric vehicles. And we can have the extension ranger. These are essentially the fuel tank, fuel cell. Then we will carry the hydrogen cell, but power density of these devices will be less, but it will continually feed. It is just like that, your recurring deposits. Okay, so you try to put every moment, every month the power, and ultimately it will accumulate. So we are putting hydrogen cylinder, but you require to keep some buffer. So you may drop down for a break to have a snacks and coffee. So in half an hour it can charge, and you can go another 100 kilometers. So in that way, you can reduce the size of the battery. So that is costly. And if you can, of course, you can, instead of the 600 kilometer, it is not possible yet. So for maximum range, I know that 300 kilometers. So 100 kilometer battery you can use, and rest of the thing can be managed by this fuel cell and the hydrogen combination. And that is the infrastructures we are looking for. Okay. So, and that is the next part of the fuel cell sack, then hydrogen tank, and hydrogen can be filled very easily. That's not a very big challenge, but problem is that that hydrogen is extremely inflammable, and thus we require to make this infrastructure for hydrogen transportations and also the refueling of the hydrogen cells. Now, these are the abbreviation I have told you, but I am actually repeating again. So these are the BEV stands for the battery electric vehicle, or sometimes we say that pure electric vehicles, and plugged-in electric vehicles, we also say that, and thereafter hybrid electric vehicles. And fuel cell electric vehicles, we consider that it has a future once we build that electric vehicle hydrogen based charging refueling cells, because it is extremely, we require to take a lot of caution to transportation as well as the fueling of this hydrogen. Now, if some portion, now since there is a challenge of the infrastructures, so we come out with the concept of the hybrid electric vehicles. So some portion, so this is the pure electric vehicles where it uses the electric motor and the battery. And gradually some portion it uses the gasoline. In that way, it reduces its hybrid its hybridizations rather, or the hybrid electric vehicles. So, and this is the normal IC engine based vehicles. So it uses the engine as well as the gasoline. So it can have a micro electric, it can be micro one, it can be diesel, it can be high one. And similarly, you can have a fuel cell based that uses the hydrogen as a fuel. So based on the usage, here mostly it is gasoline and small part is electric. And here, REV, mostly it is electric, but small part is the gasoline. So once you have a range problem, then only that picks up. So we can have that hybrid electric vehicles. And so these are the few features of the battery driven vehicles. As we understand that pure electric vehicle or the battery driven electric vehicles are electric motor, and its energy source are battery as well as the ultra capacitor, because problem lies charging and the discharging of the, even though we have a better material nowadays, essentially an electric is a chemical process. So it cannot be done in very fast. For this reasons, we use the ultra capacitor mainly for the acceleration and the deceleration. While deceleration occurs, we require to stop the car. That huge energy can go into the ultra capacitor fast. From there, it can gradually charge the battery. Okay, and the vice versa. So ultra capacitor can feed while acceleration, instantaneous huge power demand, and so that you can keep the discharging current little low, and in that way that electric vehicle will work. Of course, these are typical issues that no emissions, no depends on the oil, range extension is possible because you can put the batteries, then you can have an extension less. Now, of course, we have a commercially available one, but problem definitely the price, the capital cost of the electric vehicle. As we know that it is around 40 to 50% higher than the petrol vehicle. So of course, next challenge is range. We can get only the 300 kilometer, that too in a roads that they refer to ARI. So that kind of roads we hardly get it. So we can reduce by 20% whatever the ARI value they quoted. So charging time is also an issue, because if you go to the less crowded petrol pump, you can fill it up in 5 minutes and leave. But that is not possible here in case of the charging, because charging will take time, and availability of the charging station, that is the EV infrastructure, is a major issues. And that's what the last point I said, that is the high price. So for this reason, to mitigate this problem, we go for the hybrid electric vehicle, mainly the availability of the charging station, charging time and range. But of course, we pay the penalty in the high cost, because hybrid electric vehicle uses the both, and thus the cost is quite high. It doesn't have a car. We can get the car around 5 to 6 lakhs budgets, petrol car, for the for this hatchback, and whereas no car of the hybrid electric vehicles is available less than 20 lakhs in Indian currency. So battery energy size can be optimized, and all those issues can be taken care of. But a problem is definitely the cost. And India is now moving out from the hybrid electric vehicle era, and we are focusing on the pure electric vehicle with this electric vehicle infrastructures and the fuel cell based, and that is the future. So we have to address the challenge. The cost of the fuel cell, though we are mentioning, but it is little not very high if you are using commercially. Then another aspect is that hydrogen infrastructures. So that is one of the biggest challenge for the fuel cell. Others we can, of course, these are the trivial statement. Now, these are the different mode of the electric vehicles that we generally go ahead with. These are the passing when battery is feeding the electric motor in case of the hybrid electric vehicles. Then electric motor and the IC engine both are powering, and mostly it comes while starting, and maybe for the traveling in the high hills or this flyovers or bridges. Then we can have a braking. Then definitely power will go to the battery from the powertrain to the electric motor, regenerative braking. And cruising, then then the power will get from the IC engine, and the motor will essentially will be acting as a generator and will charge the battery. These are the few modes of the hybrid electric vehicles. Now, as I told you, that electric vehicles is a multidisciplinary subject, electric vehicle technologies. Okay, so for this reason, vehicle design and optimization, vehicle dynamics, aerodynamics, then these are the domain of the mechanical engineers, and it can be simply an artist. So he may not know the nitty-gritty of the technologies, but he has got good aesthetic knowledge. So the thermal management and control, how cooling has been, can be placed, etc. Then power management, that is, we say that battery management system, and overall there will be a power management system, and below it will be a battery management system, it is BMS. BMS will be the subset of the PMS. Then we got electronics, that is the area that we are working, power electronics and the machines. Then energy storage, and ultimately we require to give good batteries. That is one of the challenge that has a good power density. And then regenerative control, again, though I have specified in a separate entity, but it comes into the domain of the power electronics and the machine. And also the vehicle modeling and simulation, we have to stand it, then working prototype has to be built, and in that way so that electric vehicle will come out. Now, these are the few features that we always looking, not only for the electric vehicles, for all the vehicles. So automotive application design batteries are safety, reliable for life, because once you are going with the charged batteries, so perhaps you were aware that we all the car company goes for the collision tests. So collision test there with the petrol will be different than the collision test with the electric vehicles with the batteries. So it may be highly inflammable. So batteries need. It has been seen that power density and the inflammability are the two issues are directly inversely proportional. If you wanted to have a battery with the high power density, you will always find that these are inflammable. So we have to balance those stocks, and that is a part of the material science peoples or the battery people. And thus, safety has been a bigger challenge for the larger cells, though power density will be more. And for this reason, we require to integrate the battery management system. And that's what it is. The large cells has been introduced in 2012, and with a very conservative design due to the life and the safety norms. But you know that Boeing had a Dreamliner that has a problem with the batteries. So we have to stop flying those Dreamliner. Once they change the battery, then it has been put to use. But a lot of merits of the Dreamliner goes out because problem was that that the battery they're using that caught a fire, and ultimately they have to use the power batteries with the lower power densities, and thus cost comes into the picture, as well as the bulkiness comes into the pictures. And as an industry gains the confidence, so we will use more energetic materials. So that is the very optimistic statement. So that we require to work on it, because that those who are worked with the battery technology, they were facing many problems. Like Samsung Pad had a problem for the electronics. Same for the electric vehicles also. So why those are the issues that has to be addressed. So historically, we are using the lead acid batteries. That is a proven technology for the 50 years, but it is almost obsolete and it is very bulky. Still, we use it for the mainly the batteries of the e-rishkas, but the petrol cars, for the auxiliary powers, we use also this lead acid batteries. And the third point, that lithium have the significant energy density to be used for the medium range vehicle and can be charged relatively rapidly for the hybrid. So we require to make that lithium. Unfortunately, India doesn't manufacture much lithium, and after this battery, we require to make that ecosystem to refurbish this lithium ion and to again manufacture this lithium. So that ecosystem required to be built. Only China and Taiwan has that ecosystem. So that required to be addressed for the e-mobility, and this is one of the major challenge of the e-mobility. So I don't want to speak about that lead acid because you know about it. So I have talked about that electric vehicle with the nickel metal halide. So that was used in 80s, 90s. Sorry, 80s was not there. 90s, 90, 2000. These are the very common nickel metal halide that was been used. But unfortunately, you can use for the 200 to 300 cycles. So if you charge that whole battery, it can last only 6 months. So after 6 months, you have to replace the battery. So that is not feasible for any car manufacturer to go for it. And but these are the other advantages, recyclable, safe operation, high value. But what we used to do that, it is just we give that old battery and we take down the new batteries, and ultimately there's a cost of the replacement. Then the lithium ion came, and lithium ion now is essentially riding the market. But one of the, you can see that the charge energy density is almost twice, and it gives you the good performance at the high temperature. That is quite good because heat will be generated. So thermal management is a very important issues, and low effect of the memory. That means, every entity is a memory. Our muscles is a memory. So our body is a memory, our mind is a memory, even the materials are also the memories, you know that hysteresis graph, BH curve. So molecule with a memory, it is not possible to refurbish easily. Okay, so for this reason, I was telling you that ecosystems can be made very well. Okay, so for that is the one of the recycling of this lithium is highly required. But one aspect is that once that we'll address the issue and we can negate the first cost, that high cost. So since it is not being manufactured here, so it is quite costly. And of course, another problem, charging definitely takes all your our mobile batteries are essentially lithium ion batteries. So you know that it takes time for charging. So thereafter we can use the nickel zinc, and this is as one advantage. This is for the colder country, it is quite suitable. It can work well for the low temperature, and also it can has 1,000 cycles, and also it is environmental friendly. That this is one of the problem that it oxidizes very fast, the zinc, and zinc oxide, you might be aware of it, and for this reason it deteriorates very fast. And then we got a nickel cadmium, that is quite popular battery, and this has been used for the mostly Tesla and the costlier. But one of the problem is that cadmium can cause pollutions, and also it is quite costly. Now, what we are looking for? We are looking for the energy density can be attained to one charge to provide the maximum mileage, and high energy density makes it possible to gain the suitable power, because you know that this electric vehicles, if you just browse the data, the power comes to be around 50 kilowatt. The passenger car, I'm talking about not the public utility vehicles, passenger cars. So that amount of the power required to be supplied, and think about the discharging and discharging current. So for this reason, we require to have a high energy density, and with deep discharge characteristics should be allowed. Otherwise, if you are required to retain some amount of the charge to be function properly, then then ultimately you can't use that portion essentially, and it should be recyclable and will have a less memory. Now this is something that we are talking about. This curve, it is little projections. I think I have made these slides before the COVID pandemic. So we have required to change it scenarios. So we expect that battery cost will come down due to the volume and the ecosystem, because if India makes it, it will definitely make it cheap. Unfortunately, that infrastructure has not built it. So battery costs definitely will come down, and thus we can see that exponential rise of the electric vehicles. But of course, we have to accept that 1.5 year was in a COVID pandemic. So this scenario will take little later. Now these are the few commonly used electric vehicle worldwide. I have put it. That is its electricity consumptions per kilowatt hour for 100 miles. Okay, so you can see that Tesla goes around 30. Okay, 30 close to 30, and Tesla is working on it. Tesla's batteries are quite costly for this reason. They can go for consumptions. And you know, Chevrolet Volt, that is a GM car, General Motors, sorry. So you can see that energy density is been increasing because you know it can go the higher lower kilowatt 100 miles. Okay, so in that way, different car has been put forward, and BMW i3 is having the least power. Okay, so and generally it will gradually decrease, but you can see that Tesla still maintaining at a high rate. Still, we cherish to own a Tesla car. Okay, these are the few batteries, you know, or the cells makers worldwide. And of course, we are looking for the high energy density and the lower weight, because that matters. We require to have a, but cost definitely is an issue. And as I told you that bigger battery cells can deliver more power, but battery management system has to be inside there. And you know, pouch is always suitable. And for this reason, we go for the pouch, and see that different electric vehicle companies are working a different kind of batteries. For example, Tesla uses very sophisticated energy. That energy per cell is 3.6. Okay, and you can see the weight. Okay, weight is just 48 grams, and the volume is quite low, and but it is quite costly, you know. Okay, so energy per hour, that is the watt hour per kg, is 333. That's what the Tesla uses. But of course, this battery is quite costly, and so, and you know, Fiat uses this one. It has the 132, and that is made by Samsung, and that has an issue with the once they put it into the tab, so far I know. Now, these are the different, we can see that the electric vehicle charging infrastructures, that is mainly wired. That's what we do. So we go to the charging stations, and or we can have a in slow charging at our home. Sorry. And most of the, I don't know about the new trend. You people are from Rourkela. In Kolkata, I have heard about that few apartments, you know, they are giving that facility of the installing that EV charging facilities. So that's a good positive aspect, that so that you can have a fast charging also in your apartment. So then the inductive wireless charging. So that is something that US has made the one road that can be charged while traveling, but it is not feasible in India. And another model is a battery swapping. So we can replace a discharged battery, and we can, that's our LPG gas cylinder, and we can put it to the and there the model is that, you know, around 40% battery will be swappable, so that you can take out that battery and swap it and put it the charged one, and so that you can travel higher distance, and so you can take out that battery very fast, and you can put that battery very fast. and that battery should not have that, if you charge that one, memory also comes into the picture. So if someone has replaced thousands cycle charge battery with the 20 cycle charge battery, how it will be priced, those mechanisms are little tricky point. Okay, so that something has to be worked out. Then the technology, we have a single phase that was not feasible anyway. So we can have a 3-phase or the multi-phase, then electric vehicle dedicated mode and the DC charging mode for the batteries. Then power you generally have low power that you will find, e-Rishka, and also the the platform trolleys, etc. that moves in railway platforms or airports. These are in that range. Once you talk about the personal vehicles, mostly this will be these two, medium power and the low power, are either in railway platform trolleys or industries also. Industries, one place to another place, we can go in the trolleys. So thereafter, as I told you, that high power, that is for this our electric vehicles. So that power goes to 22 to 50 kilowatt. So their IGBT finds a lot of applications. And then we got a buses, and that is more than 100 kilowatt mostly, though we are talking about more. So accessibility in a private domain. So these are mainly that trolleys and those who are going into the airport, and only they will have it. And semi-public or private domain. Then public domain, that's buses. Or the car, you can hire a taxi, that is in public domain, and when you take a personal car, this is in a private domain. And same for the public domain for the buses. And you can have a different billing systems, that's I'm not elaborating. So information flow can be bi-directional, like how much charges, how much customer can come to know that how much required to be paid, etc., etc. And identifications, that is the whether we can have the public private partnership, or it can be built by its own way or not. Now, whether it is as a roaming, so that is also possible, because we can have a charging station that can be roaming. So because we are talking about the flow battery, that is called liquid batteries, and that can be charged, and you can take one point to another point, and that can stand somewhere in the roads, and it can charge the battery. Then content is the charging plus electricity, whether it can provide both, so that what we are talking about, the charging infrastructures. Okay, so it can also be used for the peak power management. So that is something called charging and electricity, or it can be normal charging. Now I just show you a little bit of battery packs with the BMS. So this is one of the battery pack with the Citrogen, that is the BMS system that has been with the CAN bus. We have a different kind of protocol. I am skipping it, so that it is a part of the battery management system. So this is the electrode, then this is a cell, then we have a module that is integrates with the battery management system, and then we got a battery pack. This is a battery, and there's too many batteries, and we can have a battery management system. And we generally replace this one like that, easier and more effective. This deassemble and reassemble is very easy, and it is it is easy to recycle. Now, of course, the charging can be from the grid, charging can be from the solar or other form. It can be DC. Now, this is the one infrastructures, that is the you have a active rectifier front end, so you can have a DC to DC converter, and this active rectifier can be like this, and that can feed out to the grid for the charging. And now we can have a full bridge topology for the charging application, because we want that high power to be flown. So for this reason, full page to transfer with transformer topology is useful. And if you want that, don't want the bidirectional, we can use that PFC power factor correction technique. Thereafter, it can be single phase also. And then you can have that full bridge DC to DC converter for charging application. Now, this is the charging information, that is the grid. Then charging stations, we can analyze this power quality issues in AC in both the sides of the charging station. This side is essentially AC. There's a issues with the power quality because other can get affected due to the harmonic contaminations. Then charging pole, here we require to monitor that how much is the charging current, how much is the EMI, EMC losses, etc. Then charging pole, then we can have a multiple charging pole. And then electric vehicles, then we have a how it is, we can have a CAN recorder, that is how it is charging, all those data can be fit so that it can be available into your app through IoT, so that you can see that what is your charge, what is the amount of the charging when you can leave. Let's say you come into the office, you require to leave after 30 minutes, you can give the priority instruction to charge it. All those features can be enabled here. Now, this is some interesting features, how we should charge. You can see that we know that there's a different kind of charging way, that is called constant current charging, constant voltage charging, and trickle charging. Trickle charging I have omitted because it has been done just initial part of the mobile charging. So we can see that these are the different way of charging, and once this current is constant, that means it is a constant charging. So first, if you can have very high current, then of course you will find that it is charging very fast. Okay, so then what happen? You can go for this flat charging. Okay, so that also possible. And ultimately you can have a different measured data. If you see that red curve, how it gives the voltage, you will see that the voltage buildup will be quite fast. And you have delayed by some time, then you are charging, then you will find the same thing here. Nothing much difference. It will be delayed. So if you go by the blue one, low current, almost half of the charging current, and you will see that the charging time will be more. And also here it is the energy stored into the battery. You can see that energy stored will take more time. So in that way, you will continue. And after that, you will go for, after it reached here, you will go for the constant voltage charging. You will allow the voltage to be a little bit more, and you will pump that current. So gradually that current will come down. That is the red one. So this is the one of the way of first charging. Now, but what happened, since that voltage increases, so when you will change, so this data has to be monitored because you can see that internal resistance will change. Okay, here voltage was more, then it has been come down. So in that way, so it is a reference voltage. So now this is a battery voltage. So what was the internal resistance? That it will change. And once it reverses, it will increase then decrease. So then you have to change the mode of operation from the constant current to the constant voltage mode. And also we require to maintain the temperature. So charging current in a different temperature will be different. So for less than 10 degree charging current required to be less than 22 degree, you can maintain to it, and after 20 degree to 50 degrees centigrade, and you can maintain to the 125 ampere. And this is the DC power and versus the energy in the battery. And red one, you can see I have picked the red one, how the DC power versus this this storage takes place, and this is the efficiency. And you can see that red one has a good amount of efficiency. Later it will have a reduced efficiency. So average efficiency will be close to 80%. And the black one, please recall that this is the black one if you can do it. And there is a constant charging, flat, very slow current. and that gives you the maximum efficiency. But it is not feasible anyway. Another aspect is that how it derates with the cycles. I'm talking about the lithium-ion batteries, which has a lifespan of the 1000 cycles. You can find that it can leap to the 1000 cycles. That's what it's been estimated to. And so after 800 cycles, it will come down to the 80% of its capacity, storage capacity. So in that way, it will derate. This is called the fishbone analysis. So any fault diagnosis, this is a standard method of any fault diagnosis system. The frequency of the charging and discharging we have to check. So if we see that battery has been discharged very fast or it has been decayed very fast its life, so we require to do those fishbone analysis, and we have to come out that flowchart, and that diagnostic should run sometime so that you can plug the error and you can come out with the solutions. Otherwise, you should not, you will allow to the decay to the batteries. So for this reason, charge and discharge and transactions of the battery, charging time, discharging time, based on that, your efficiency will come out. So you should maintain all loads so that get the best efficiency. Now, operating condition, this is also one of the major chunk, because battery, how you can use the battery, based on that, your main contribution will come. So significant charging and discharging or depth of discharge, that is also matters. If you discharge the battery more, you will find that life will be less. And if it is subjected to significant vibration, that is one of the problem of the electric vehicles. So then also life will be less. And it is because of the early separation of the positive plate and the active materials. And the high temperatures, that is also one of the problem. And also low temperature, also one of the problems. So it can deteriorate this positive plate, and whereas the high temperature, the grid expansions takes place, and also the separation of the active material from this positive plate will occur in case of the lithium. So these are something that we require to check, and based on that we may require to heating or cooling system has to be done in our battery management system. Now I am coming to the, I don't have much time. So now I'm coming to this electric vehicles motors, because we don't use that brass DC motors, so I'm skipping that part. Okay, so you use this brushless, so induction motor, and induction motor now also is getting interest because of the multi-phase induction motor, and with that DTC or the vector control. And otherwise we have a synchronous motor. We use that permanent magnet rotor, and here it is interior permanent magnet rotor, and also we use that SRM, that is also a candidate for this electric vehicles. Now you can check that these are the which company uses the which motors. So brass DC motor, it is phased out. Fiat Honda, that was in 1990, they came out with that electric vehicle, that is the series DC motor. But thereafter, this car, based on the VLDC, that was quite popular car for the Toyota, and it has still been, I think, in a market. So that is quite popular car, and it uses the BLDC. Thereafter, you got a permanent magnet synchronous motor. Then a newer version of that Toyota Prius and Nissan Leaf and all those Japanese and the Korean company uses it. And one of the problem, you can see that the huge iron loss at high speed because of the eddy current losses. So eddy current loss minimization is a very big challenge. Then Tesla always uses the multi-phase induction motor. Okay, so it uses the induction motor. Now the switch reluctance motor, I have chloride Lucas that uses, and that has, because one of the issues with the SRM is a pulsating torque, so they have a own IPs to reducing that. And then we have a PM assisted induction motor, that is it's their PI of it's their basically that IP of BMW. This motor is an excellent motor, that is synchronous reluctance motor. Also the PM motor as a rotor, so also it reduces the eddy current losses. And this one, as this something is a future that we are talking about. Instead of the radial flux, that is the axial flux ironless permanent magnet motor. So that coupled with the high band gap devices, because one of the problem is that if you rotate a motor at high switching frequency as well as high modulating frequency, then eddy current losses increases. Instead, eddy current both. So iron losses increases. So once you got a iron instead of iron core, you got a air core. So that will diminish at a great extent. So you can power the motor excellently with a high frequency. Say, if you are going for the simple VYF control instead of the 50 Hertz, you can go for the 1000 Hertz. And if your high band gap device can sustain 20 times more voltage in the multi-level inverter, fine, 1 kilowatt motor will be a 20 kilowatt motor then. So that is the futuristic way and the trend for the axial flux iron less permanent magnet motor. Now let's talk about a little bit of the PMSM. PMSM, as you know, it is, since there's a two kind of PMSM motor. One is interior permanent magnet motor and the surface mounted. So since we require to rotate and it is subjected to the huge vibrations, these motors are interior permanent magnet motor and rotating field is being produced. So we should insert it quite heavily so that it not come out for the vibration. And these are the different material, uses for the, and these are all mostly the rare earth materials and the Alnico. Alnico is one material that has been used, but problem lies, its beige curve is quite stiff. So instead of that, for a cheaper version, we can use ceramic also, but we generally prefer Simco 26 and others. These are all the rare earth materials. And so we require to extract the rare earth material. From that, we can use that permanent magnet. And this is the load characteristics. This is the quartzivity where B becomes 0, and this is the when it is a no loaded B, and in between this is a no load, and here it is a full load, and you can load it to that value, and within that you can say that it is in a constant flux region. So in that way you can operate the PMSM, and this is its BH curve. Now, of course, advantages is a high efficiency because the core losses is diminished, and thus you can have a high power density, high torque to inertia ratio. It is less bulky than the copper and iron, and superior overload capacity that you can see, and the high output torque, especially at a low speed, and small inertia as well as weight, and the simple structures. And I'm skipping the mathematics. I don't have a time, all the Clark transformations and all, and ultimately from there we can go for the field oriented control. And in the field oriented control, these are the equations of VDs and VQ, and there is a cross parameters, and thus you can apply the field oriented control also in DTC so that you can control the speed of the motor and the torque independently. And these are the advantages of the FOC. And one advantage definitely that we can control independently the torque and the flux similar to the DC motor, and fast dynamic response if you want to change the speed, and high torque at a low speed is also possible, and wide speed range through the field awakening. Now this is a block diagram of the PMSM for the FOC. So by the way, it is now 5:30. Dr. Ghosh, should I continue for 5-10 minutes more?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem from our side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem from our side. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. No problem.
Yes.
I just try to close it sooner.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So this is I'll share the slides. If you have a queries, please send the mails. Definitely, I don't get a time to explain. Anyway, this is the common aspect of the PMSM motor for the 4th quadrant operation of the electric vehicles. And you know that there's a speed command. From there, Q axis will be generated, D axis we try to make it 0 because it's a permanent magnet. It doesn't require the ID. ID required to be meant 0, so that then only the field orientation is also for the PMSM. This is something that I can show you. This is you can see that this is a reference speed. This is simulated results. Reference speed and the actual speed, where rate 1 is actual speed. It follows the actual speed. And you can see that when we have changed it, so how the torque has behaved. And this is the current, where you can see it is a 2-level inverter. Around 11 to 13% THD with the filter which will come. And this is the VQ ABC current. This is the ID and IQ, ID and IQ, and where torque has been changed, and ID almost came to be 0. And these are the different. These are the PLL and the currents. So one of the problem of the DTC, one of the problem of the FOC is that it has a huge dependence on the PLL, and for this reason PLL has to be done by the encoder. So fidelity of it definitely a questionable one, and we wanted to have a sensorless operation because with then causing a wear and tear, most vulnerable part is the encoder. So after some time, 1 or 2 years, it will go wrong. For this reason, we go for the direct torque control, and you can control the torque directly. And one of the advantage of the DTC is that you did not have to know the positions of the rotor very precisely. So that is you require to know the sectors. That is, we split 6 sectors for the 2 phases, and we can split it more 12 sector for the 3 phases, and for the multi-level inverter. But that is the one of the advantage. Now that's what the advantage is, that we don't need to do the Clark transformation and Clark transformation, and less dependency on the motor parameter and the quick transient response and simplified control and the lower computational time. And for this reason, we are going for the DTC. So one example I can show you that there is a speed reversals, there is a simulated results, and we have changed it to the torque to 3 Newton meter to -3 Newton meter, and that can be achieved without any transients within 0.8 seconds, whereas it takes 5.6 milliseconds. And this is the block diagram of the DTC. So here one aspect is that you can compare the torque and reference with the actual torque, and then you have a lookup table, and from the lookup table you can see that error, and based on that you can choose the sector. So you have 6 sectors, and you have a flux that is can be positive or the negative, that is 2 level, and the torque error can be 3 level, and it can be increased further. You can split it also, and based on that you can choose, torque error is actually 3 level and the flux error has been 2 level. If the torque error is positive, flux error is positive, then you are you should know that which sector you are in, first sector or second sector historically. So then which vector to be injected. And in that way, this is a lookup table, and accordingly, the sequence of the voltage vector will be injected by the space vector modulation. So, and that is one of the example of it. And this is the hardware results. So blue is the reference torque, and pink is actual torque, where you can see that a lot of jittery, and this is stator current, and you can see that the THT is around 13%. Okay, and that too you have filtered. And for this is a disadvantage. There's a huge torque ripple, and how to reduce that. So this is the one of the requirement, and for this reason we require to go for the multi-level inverter to reduce it, or we should do something to have a constant frequency operation to reduce it. So I just show you that you can go for the multi-level inverter, and thus you can have a better quantizations of your error. And once you do the better quantization of the error, so preciseness you can increases. And same thing, I am not going to the lack of time, the different vector how you will select. And the same thing, you can see that torque ripple has been reduced. That is the pink one. And current TST comes out to be 8%. So one of the solution definitely that you can go to the multi-level inverter, and we require to go for the multi-level inverter if your power rating is more. And thereafter, of course, that's what it has been written, that you can reduce the torque ripple and efficiency, all those things. If you have a lower TST, definitely efficiency will be more. Now, another aspect that you can also do with the constant switching frequency, that can be done, instead of the having a hysteresis control, if you go for the constant switching frequency, then your filter designing is also easier. Otherwise, where the spectrum will be located, so you can attenuate those high frequency spectrum rightly. And so this is the lookup table, and based on that I can show you the result. This is the results for the 2-level inverter, and here you can see that even though the 2-level inverter, this paper has been published in IIT. You can search it. So the THT is 7%. So in same solution with the control strategy, we can achieve the lower THT and low torque ripple. So, and also this is the comparisons of the 2-level inverter, conventional DTC. There is a 3-level inverter with the harmonic spectrum. You can see that there is no where you can set the cutoff frequency. Here, the 2-level inverter with a constant switching frequency, you can see that there is a dominating peaks. If you can reduce, then considerable reduction of the THT can be takes place, and that is the way we can design the filter for the longevity of the electric vehicles. Okay, and I am skipping SRM. I don't have a time now. Of course, we can use as a candidate as an SRM. I just coming to the last slide. So the reductions, what are the major issues? That is, of course, the carbon footprint, economics, and the socials, including health, because we are now those who are in Delhi, they are always saying that we go for the electric vehicles. Okay, even though it is little costly. So, but unless we charge the electric vehicle with the renewables, nothing will happen. So these are the thereafter reductions of the energy density. So that is also a challenge. Then impact of the carbon form of the transportations, that is modal shift, and that you should not allow. If you because what happened, you take out the pollutions, road pollution, and convert it to the thermal pollution, convert it to the one generating the thermal energy pollution. So that should not be done. Okay, so urban air pollutions and landscape all those issues. One of the problem in Delhi that it has a higher pollution because of in the Delhi's periphery, there is a lot of thermal power plant. Once that wind starts keeping up, they comes inside the Delhi, but rather not leaving the Delhi. So anyway, so journey to the distance reductions avoidance, then these are the economics and the socials and the environmental norms that we require to address. And I have hyphenated with the arrow that which one will be getting a boost and which one will be get a flip. But of course, sooner we are going towards the electric vehicles, and we require a lot of technician, technologists, quality manpower for it, and thus that is one of the shortage in that field. And as especially in electrical engineering, those who are working on the power electronics, it is a good boom. You are shifting everything mechanical to the electrical. So we will see that a lot of flourishment in that area. Thank you. These are my references, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have.
Is there any query from participation?
And it is elementary, it is not highly technical, so I can expect a lot of queries.
Okay, so I hope no questions. I